From being the familiar, uber-masculine friendly face on TV for the past 40 years, to winning a spot on Time magazine's most influential mustaches of all time, here are some of the reasons Tom Selleck has been wooed by women. I mean, it makes sense, right? He's the face of authority, and someone who's comfortable in their masculinity. Tom Selleck is one of the most popular actors on television. He portrayed Vietnam War veteran turned Hawaii-based private investigator Thomas Magnum on Magnum P.I. from 1980 to 1988. And he has been the coolest guy in TV ever since. But did you know that part was rooted in reality? The guy has actually served in Vietnam for 6 months. Even now, Selleck has continued to support the American military and has contributed in a variety of ways. For instance, he's done many PSAs, National Guard recruitment spots, and is a spokesperson for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Well, he's a unique actor with a long-running hit program that's maybe a result of all the positive buzz from the first series, which was a tremendous hit and even won Selleck an Emmy Award. Of course, I'm talking about Blue Bloods. On the CBS police drama, he's been New York City's police commissioner since 2010. Not to forget, Selleck has starred in numerous TV movies and box office successes, such as 3 Men and a Baby, and we all remember when he briefly co-starred on Friends, right? And throughout it all, he has maintained one of the most magnificent mustaches. More on that in just a bit. But let's be real, we all know why he's so appealing. So, would you believe me if I told you he had to struggle to catch someone's eye back in the day? His career began with a cameo in 1965 on the swingin' series The Dating Game. Selleck claimed in an interview with TV Guide that his friends went on with their girlfriends, while acting as though they didn't know each other. Selleck chose not to adopt that strategy, feeling hopeless and, quote, very shy, and failing to capture the attention of the chosen bachelorette. Aww. But 2 years later, Selleck made a comeback to the midnight version of the show, and once more, he didn't make the best impression and was rejected. But thanks to The Dating Game, Selleck did meet someone who went on to have a significant impact on his life: a casting director. The guy encouraged him to try acting and secured him an audition with a 20th Century Fox talent hunt. You see, even though Tom was the epitome of manliness in the 1980s for millions of people who either wanted to be him or be with him, he didn't find success until much later. Sure, he was cool, strong, and self-assured, but despite becoming a symbol of masculinity, he didn't become a successful actor until he was at least a full-grown man, and then some. By the way, did you know he's played against the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? The fact that Tom's horrible at the game is a whole different video, but this helped him land a Pepsi commercial for sure. Anyway, he was 35 when Magnum P.I. finally picked up and shot him to stardom. Women all over the globe took a collective sigh and calmed their fast-beating hearts because this guy on screen had a charm like nobody had ever seen before. And the rest, as they say, is history. For Tom Selleck, Magnum P.I. marked a turning point in his career. It was one of many early 1980s television programs featuring eccentric private investigators. But get this, he almost said no to it. In fact, he thought it felt like a version of James Bond with air hostesses on each arm. Plus, at the time, he had a very promising audition with influential directors George Lucas and Steven Spielberg to play archaeologist and treasure hunter Indiana Jones in their action-adventure classic Raiders of the Lost Ark. But due to a scheduling conflict, he had to say no to the movie. I don't know which potential scenario to be mad about: the fact that we almost didn't get him in Magnum P.I., or that we could have had him in Indiana Jones. Anywho, contrary to popular belief, this macho man is actually a big softie. Here's a way to judge how hot he is. For all of you weirdos who don't see it, he's been known as Marlboro Man even when he was actually posing for Salem. Why? Because of his ragged good looks and manly man-swayed aura. The man's done a few other modeling gigs while working his way up the industry ladder, but he never lets his current thirst level get to his head, because he remembers how hard it was for him to get a date back in college. Or his flop stint at the dating game. I bet those women who turned him down are cursing themselves now. There's actually a cute story of how he met his wife, and how even then he was too shy to ask her out. So she made the move. So he went to watch Cats since his pal Brian Blast was in it while he was filming Lassiter in London. And right there, he was captivated by this woman who, in her leotard and whiskers, looked quite attractive. Jilly Mack was told by people backstage that the guy from Magnum P.I. was staring at her, to which she responded, "What's that?" Anyway, later, he hesitated so much when he called her that she finally cut to the chase and said, "Would you like to take me out for a cocktail?" The rest, once again, is history. They've been married for 36 years now. Another thing that gets women swooning, his personality. The way he smiles warmly at the reporters before asking, "Did everybody get to ask a question?" in an earnest, slightly squeaky voice. That's way too polite for a pack of vultures in the press. Well, Tom Selleck is firmly a TV guy. Yep, despite a few notable movie hits, he's actually one of the most recognizable small-screen actors ever, because of his role in Blue Bloods. In the series, he plays New York City Police Commissioner Frank Reagan, who's a member of a multi-generational law enforcement family. And the whole thing has been incredibly popular. In fact, Blue Bloods was in the top 10 most-watched broadcast network shows. That achievement wasn't simple, and it almost didn't happen at all. Sources tell us that Selleck argued with the show's producers about the nature of his role, when the first few episodes of the series were still being produced but hadn't yet aired. Apparently, he hated that they wanted to portray him as a guy who barks orders at everyone. This sort of disagreement, along with different creative visions, caused CBS's chosen showrunner, Ken Senzel, to leave the project. In fact, the network sided with Selleck and let Senzel leave, after some behind-the-scenes haggling between CBS management and the Blue Bloods cast. Later, CBS hired Kevin Wade as a producer, who was more in line with Selleck's suggestions for the show. Now, when CBS announced Blue Bloods being renewed for a 14th season, it sent waves of happiness around Selleck's fanbase. Mainly women, who couldn't wait to see him back on their screens, all suited up. What can I say? Tom Selleck consistently ranks among women's top selections in the looks department, because he conveys intelligence and humor in equal measure, which any girl will tell you is something many women find attractive. After all, they place a lot less value on a partner's appearance, unlike men, which is why some men don't get this guy's appeal. I'm looking at you, Chandler Bing. Selleck has now grown older and uses his size and glum poker expression as indicators of dominance. He still has those moments of sarcasm and more direct humor, which makes him the kind of man that both women and men think would be kind of fun to hang out with. And in TV lingo, being fun to hang out with equals a high Q rating. Selleck is a perfect 10. Speaking of friends, Tom Selleck is skilled at making women swoon. So even though the whole Monica Richard affair was a little uncomfy, you'd get it, right? The guy probably has more hair on his chest than on his head. Manly. The legendary actor has time and again proven his ability to make people laugh. And his comedic timing on Friends was amazing. By the way, this is another show he almost said no to. He wasn't sure about coming back to telly, but during a screen test, his sizzling chemistry with Courtney Cox is what made him change his mind. Selleck ended up being one of Friends' biggest secondary stars, and his original 3-episode contract eventually blossomed into 10. Plus, got him and Cox on the TV Guide cover. Now, do you remember that episode when Chandler and Joey got too inspired by him and tried to grow their own stubble? Totally justified. This guy is an icon for it. Even Time magazine thinks so. Boy, oh boy, Selleck is the indisputable mustache champion of the world, sporting a hairy top lip throughout his career. It's been the definition of sexy for generations. In fact, in Her Alibi, he sports a complete clown look with his stash. I thank him for it. So, from winning a spot on Time magazine's most influential mustaches of all time, to being the familiar, uber-masculine, friendly face on TV for the past 40 years, this is why women love Tom Selleck.